Sponsored program. Those of KSCO Radio, its staff, management, or advertisers. If something is said with which you disagree, please call us during the program in order to help us balance comments.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Independence Day weekend. Jimi Hendrix playing his famous version of the Star Spangled Banner is a great way to start the show. I'm going to really talk about independence today. And, not only did our country claim its independence some 224 years ago or something like that, 244 years ago. And amazing things have happened since then. Our country has been the greatest civilization known to human beings for a long time. Sure, we have our flaws and we have our weaknesses, but what we have done is allowed for great opportunity for those who choose to look forward and take advantage of it. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day about a couple that had come from Italy and recently opened a restaurant in town, an Italian restaurant, the day before the pandemic hit. And they put everything that they had into that restaurant, and you come from Italy with the dreams of greatness. And then the pandemic hit. And what did they have to do? They had to shift, and their survival was so important that they were able to figure out what they had to do to become successful or to survive over the 1 or 2 months that the pandemic was going to be there, which has now been over 2 years. So they started a takeout and they were very successful. And now they opened and they're running in town and they're like waiting room only. So this is, an amazing country, an amazing land of opportunity. And last week I talked a little bit about suppression. What is suppressing you? What is holding you back? What in history has happened to make you the victim of circumstances? And, I'm not going to pull any punches today. I think the best thing for you to do is go look in a mirror and realize that that is your biggest adversary. You are the one that is pulling you down more than anybody. Now, you can argue with me and blame everybody else, but at the end of the day, it's simply your decision. So, and you might need help. And some of my books may help you. My first book is The Adventures of Little Big Jim. My family, my great-great-great-grandfather was a constable in Scotland in the mid-1800s, probably 1840s or something like that. One day he arrested an Englishman who ended up being an English nobleman, and he arrested him for some kind of law infraction. Of course, the Scottish were considered second or third rate citizens in England at that time. So he was a proud man and he had it. And he went to his wife, Maggie, and said, "Maggie, I've had enough. I'm moving to the new country." I know that's Irish, not Scottish. But so Maggie understood, and she said, "Fine, you're taking your eldest son with you." So his oldest son, James Jr., was 7 years old. And so he went down and got a job as a galley cook on a ship going to New York. And he snuck his son aboard hid him under some, who knows, some longboats or something, and told him, don't come out for 3 days. And then when you do come out, don't ever mention that you're my son or that you even know me. So they came across the ocean back in the mid 1800s. The son came out after a few days. The captain basically adopted him, and he became his sidekick throughout the trip. As soon as they got to New York, his father grabbed him and they hightailed it out of town and ended up in Illinois. There, after a few years, the gold rush took off. And so by this time, he had Maggie come across with a couple of their other children. And so they were living there, and they got on a ox cart, a wagon train. And an ox cart is just that. It's a cart that ox pulls that you put everything you want in, and then you walk across the Great Plains to your destination. I'm sure we've all seen movies about that. I have some writings from the family coming across during that time. So my book, Little Big Jim, The Adventures of Little Big Jim, starts with that adventure coming across the plains. And some of the things that happened to them are in the book, in my historical fiction. But, he'd had it. He just decided that he was not going to be the victim, and Scottish had been the victim of the English tyranny for decades. And, once the crown was stolen, and then Bonnie Prince Charles failed to get the crown back, it was really devastating. The English would come up and basically just devastate the Scottish Highlands and take advantage in every which way they could. I won't mention those on air there, but you can imagine. So my great-great-grandfather, James Daniel McDougall, made the trek. They ended up in San Bernardino and then headed north to Salinas. And they were some of the first Anglo settlers in Salinas. He became the first marshal. He had, already had experience as a constable in Glasgow. So he became the first marshal of Salinas, took a bullet in the lung when two guys were fighting it out in a local saloon. He went up to Tasahara Hot Springs way back then, and it's probably about 1870 by now, and recovered and lived to be 84 years old with the bullet in his lung. So, but they made it. And they had, he and his wife had several children. My great grandfather was one of them, A.J. McCollum the first. And he had 7 sons that all lived in Salinas. My second book, called Coaling Station A, is about Kalinga. That's when my grandfather was born in 1883, after he took a trip to Alaska in 1906, 3 days before the earthquake hit San Francisco. He left port in a ship, came back, ended up going to Kalinga because the oil was discovered there, the biggest oil strike ever in the history at that point. He started working for the Kalinga Record and was there during the oil boom, the second gold rush. The black gold had been discovered, and he became a newspaper editor, eventually bought the paper and retired, ended up passing away in 1982, I believe. No, he was 97 years old, born in 1883. I'm just not good at math today, so it was the 70s. When he was 80 years old, he was walking down the street, and a little girl ran out between the cars and got hit by a car. He ran out to help the girl. He got hit by a car, got thrown 50 feet, broke both legs and a bone in his neck. So, however, he was still able to recover. And for many years, he walked with a hitch in his leg. And again, he died at 97. But he told me a lot of stories of the Old West, and a lot of stories from Kalinga and the Roughnecks and Dry Hole Charlie, who'd never hit a strike in all those years, finally hit the biggest strike in history. The gusher was humongous. It took him, I think, 3 weeks to harness it. But this is a land of opportunity. It always has been. It still is. We've been confronted with a lot of things that would tell us otherwise. But I really want to encourage myself, first and foremost, I'm talking to me here today, and then you guys, if it helps, to go, well, let's draw a line in the sand and do something great. It's just, and great doesn't mean you have to be famous. It's just something that you really feel great about, something you've always wanted to do, whether it's travel, write a book, write a song, build a business, whatever it is. The only thing stopping you is who's looking in the mirror. Now, you've got to get over a lot of things, but you also need some tools, and there's a lot of resources. There's a saying that you've probably heard, and I've said it before, but spectators never win. That's one of the things about, watching TV and watching sports, and, so much is going around about watching all of the different sports teams. And I love sports. I'm glad the Warriors won, but spectators never win. You just watch and you observe, and then make a decision from there. Of course, if you bet, then you're not a spectator. So talking about the independence of our country back in the 1700s, and the first McCollum in our family Bible is 1777, born in 1777. So the family was here prior to the Revolution. On the Orton side, the oldest Orton, Sam Orton, has a statue in Ohio, and it's Sam Orton, 1634. So he got over here right after the Mayflower. That's on my mother's side. But, I have papers of him going off to several wars, and his family going off to several wars throughout the generations. People have fought to preserve our country and preserve our way of life. And, a lot of times this Constitution, whether it's being interpreted correctly or not, is founded on some pretty great principles that have withheld the hands of time so far. So we just have to make sure that we understand that it's up to us to live by those codes, those moral codes, and support the people that want to live by it. We could easily lose our country to world disorder. And, I don't want to see that happen, but I'm not talking about politics here. That isn't my goal. I think what I'll do is we'll go to my first commercial here, probably listen to a little bit of Jimi Hendrix playing the Star Spangled Banner, and then we'll be back in just a couple minutes. Thank you. This is Dr. Duncan McCollum, and I would like you to listen to a couple of testimonials from my patients about our new TRT machine. You should come try it, but here's what they have to say.
Hi, I'm Lauren Spencer, a local realtor. Lately, I've had trouble with my feet, and I'm an avid walker, avid biker, avid golfer, and my feet were aching all the time. And I tried Duncan's TRT machine, which is an amazing stem cell machine that rejuvenates the cells. And my feet, I've had like 3 or 4 sessions with the machine, and my feet are like new, no aches, no pains. It's a miracle.
Originally, I heard about it on the radio, and I was a little apprehensive, but I came in and got the treatment, and miraculously, immediately I got relief. And we're talking about 3 years of 24/7 neuropathy, all kinds of pain, medical doctors, and in one treatment, it changed my life. It gave my life back because I was able to function and do things and not be in excruciating pain and get some sleep. And I'm going to continue to come back, and I highly recommend it to anyone.
So call today for your $49 introductory special on the TRT machine to see if it works for you. Call 831-459-9990. 831-459-9990. McCollum Family Chiropractic. Oh boy. Okay, Dr. McCollum back, listening to Jimi Hendrix version of Star Spangled Banner. And as I was listening to it today, I realized, you know, he really did pick up the pain, anguish, and sorrow and glee and all of the emotions of what must have gone into us finding our independence. It's not easy. It's not easy to make a change always. Sometimes the decision to change is painful. Sometimes you have to leave people behind and make new friends. But, you know, why not make a change? It's up to you. You could do anything you want. It's a power is there for you, you know? And I am constantly, well, maybe not constantly, but a lot of times I'm looking at myself going, why am I stuck where I'm at? Why aren't I doing something different? I'm currently reevaluating certain things with my business to see how I could be more effective and help more people. But you know, it's a tough thing to do because I'm comfortable where I'm at, but I don't want to just be comfortable. I think that it's important to have goals and then a map to those goals. Oftentimes I've talked about looking at a goal, setting a goal, then finding the right roadmap to the goal. If you think you're on to trying to do something and you're not getting any closer to the goal that you set, get a different map. You know, it's just that simple. If you're heading to Hawaii and you get on a boat, you have no map, you'll probably never arrive. You have to want it bad enough, and then you got to do the right things to get where you want to go. So a lot of you may not know this, but in when the American Revolution took place, there was a lot of controversy. There were a lot of people that did not want to part from England. They were too comfortable having a king rule them, and it was a way of life, and they were comfortable with that. But there were others that felt like we were being unfairly taxed, treated like third world people. We were basically taken advantage of. The king could come in and, you know, do whatever they want. And it's not only that, but the king was an ocean away. And then his minions would come in with who knows what kind of greed at the helm and what kind of ethics they may or may not have been putting over the peoples of the Americas at that point. But finally, a Congress got together and they decided to claim their independence from England. And what was amazing, that the war that ensued for the next many years, only 3% of the population of the Americas fought in that war. 97% were spectators. They didn't want to choose a side. They didn't want to have the uprising squelch and then England come in and take all of their land. You know, and then so they sat and they watched, and they were friendly to both sides, perhaps, waiting for the next boot to drop or musket to land. But regardless, there was enough desire, there was enough drive in those 3%, and enough smart people ahead of it. Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Edison, all those guys. Ben Franklin was able to go to France and get France to help us. We had a lot of allies that, you know, made it or break it. So I want to just encourage you to take a look at where we are today, where you are today, comfortable wherever you're at, and go, what did it take to get here? Sure, there's things that happened that probably weren't great, but we're here today. So I think that we should take a moment and thank those forebears, our forefathers or mothers, whatever you want to call them, that made it happen. You know, my great-great-grandfather, again, came over from Glasgow after he got embarrassed by the English crown. The Ortons got here in 1634. McCollum's got here before the Revolution. Not sure exactly how many generations yet, because I haven't been able to go do that research. But 3% fought in the war, 97% were spectators. And then take a look at what happened with the Revolutionary War, right? That was another one that, you know, certain amount of people fought in from both sides. We lost millions or hundreds, I don't know, I think it's 50,000 or something, men in one day at Gettysburg, or, you know, within a week. And let alone what happened to the women, families, mothers, and children during that time. But it was a belief in something strong enough to have people give their life for on both sides. And so, you know, World War I, World War II, a lot of people stayed out. The America stayed out of World War I for many years because we were kind of oceans away. We didn't really want a lot to do with it. In 1917, the Lusitania was sunk. And there were, I forget the numbers now, but it's in my book, Kaleidoscope, which is about World War I. It's one of my great uncles, my grandfather's younger brother, Charles McCollum, became a pilot during World War I. And this story about Kaleidoscope is him being shot down over the Somme River in France in enemy territory where it was held by Germany at the time. But we stayed out of the war. We didn't want much to do it. There were sympathizers with the Germans, and a lot of people, we just had our own life. We didn't care. We were doing all right. And, you know, so we didn't get involved until the last few years of the war. And of course, we went over and made a huge difference in the stopping the fascism and communism from taking over at that time. The next war was the World War II, as you know, which we also did not get involved with for a while. There were a lot of Nazi sympathizers here that were, you know, Nazi Germany at that time was living in the elegance of the age, you know, the music, the glamour, all of that stuff. And there was a lot of money involved. And then there was there was a leader that was well-spoken and people listened to him. Even though he talked, you know, with forked tongue or whatever, finally, we realized this isn't right. This is not right. This guy can't be doing this to the world. He can't be destroying and taking over this country and killing all of the people, the devastation of war, right? These people, a lot of them were living their life, enjoying themselves. And then it's pretty crazy. Somebody wrote, my parents were in elementary school in World War I. Well, my father, I'll tell you a story about him in a minute. So, I mean, and now look what happens. We have this thing happening over with Russia, you know, and it's like, how many people were living comfortably, and then all of a sudden their homes are gone, their families are gone, their loved ones are gone, killed, things are ruined. I remember I'm a musician, and I remember seeing a short video of this woman in a blown out apartment where all the walls were gone, but you could see her white grand piano covered with dust. And she sat down and played her piano for the last time. And she played some beautiful piece, whether it was Liszt or Brahms, I don't know what it was, but it was pretty amazing. So, you know, what are we living for today? Where are we going as a country? We have Independence Day coming up here, and I wanted to encourage myself, first and foremost, and you, to take advantage of the fact that we are where we are. We do have a chance to do something different. You know, there's a lot in the past that could affect us, and if you let it tie you down and hold you back, then that's on you. You know, and I'm not saying it's easy. Listen, I've had a brother commit suicide. My mother died of cancer. You know, my father passed away of cancer as well, and all of the other things and friends that I've lost. And the fact that I was dyslexic and couldn't read till I was 28, that I broke my back when I was 12, you know, all of that stuff, I could have it stop me, but I use it as a motivator, you know, and I try to. It does stop me. It does hold me back. But as long as I'm going 2 steps forward and 1 step back, I'm making progress. And sometimes I don't. Sometimes I go backwards. It just depends on my goal, how far I set them, and how serious I am about them, and make it a game. You know, if you have some stuff that you're wanting to do. I think a couple of the other stores that I like to go into around here, and several of them are owned by people from other countries, people that migrated to this country, and they're doing very well. The land of opportunity. And I see a lot of people born and raised in this company that think that it's the land of tyranny, the land of you know, shame, blame, and regret. And you know, it is, if that's what you believe it is. But I'll tell you where all of that land is right now. It's between your ears. So, and look, I know there's stuff out there. I've been writing down a lot of stuff lately. I'm writing a new book called New Hope for ... I'll fill you in later. But in writing this book, especially since I wrote New Hope for sciatica, I wrote Turn Back Your Biological Clock. Those are my science or health-based books. So you can find all of my books online. And I would love it if you would go buy one or six and read them and give me some insight on what you want to know about, so I can get my next books going. So here we are, we're talking about Independence Day, what's going on in the world, what's going on in your world, which is between your ears. And you might have family members that are sick, you know, or needing help. Some that are affluent, some that aren't, but you are where you are, and you are there because you chose to be there. So the harsh reality of it is, if you want to make a change, make a change. And we've been listening to Jimi Hendrix and his Star Spangled Banner, and we'll play it again in a little bit. But you know, when you listen to it, and this is, you know, as a kid, I remember hearing it at Woodstock. I wasn't there, but I was 13 years old when Woodstock occurred. So I listened to a lot of the music coming out of there, a lot of the musicians. And now listening to it today, it's not just a great version of the Star Spangled Banner, but it is a great version of the hearts won and lost, of the souls won and lost, of the heartache and the triumph, all in one song, put together in a way that we need to appreciate. We need to appreciate what it has taken. Well, you don't need to, but I do. I want to appreciate what it has taken to get us here today. I'm on a free radio station called KSCO, and I'm here. I'm able to speak about whatever I want, whenever I want, to whoever I want, as long as I want, so far. And I just want to speak up for the great country that we live in, and ask us all to look for leaders that can lead our country and keep our country doing great things, whoever they might be. I mean, we've got a lot of people that need to be out of government, as far as I'm concerned, on both sides of the aisle, and mainly the ones that are never elected. They're called the deep state. They just hum and haw and yawn as the elected officials come and go, come and go. But I believe that they're really the ones that are, you know, steering the Titanic down the road, and there's very difficult to turn it around. But we still have a chance to create our own dreams. We still have a chance to achieve what we want. Hope is not lost yet, even though the gas prices are $7 a gallon here, and food prices are going up, and you go into some stores and there's empty shelves. This is a land of opportunity and a land of plenty. There's something not working here. So at any rate, we really need to rise up and take this country back, but do it by making your life great. Do it by deciding where you want to be in a year, 3 months, 5 years. So many people come in as patients, and I'll take x-rays and put them up on the board, and perhaps I see out of their pairs of vertebrae, I see 2 with the disc in it almost worn out, with degenerative arthritis. And we see this all the time, and it's pinching the nerves, causing nerve interruption. And oftentimes the patient just wants to get out of pain. And I go, look, I can potentially help you get out of pain, but if this isn't turned around and you don't stop this, there's going to be a point where natural healthcare means won't work for you anymore. And, you know, a lot of times people are in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and they go, I want to keep this body going as long as I can. I don't want to just get out of pain. And those are the people that I love to work with. I'll work with anybody I think I can help. And if I don't think I can help them, I'll let them know right off the bat. But, you know, I like to work with the people that see a future in being healthy. We're rated 47th in the world for health. We take 70% of all the prescription drugs. We take 80% of all of the opioids in the world. So 4% of the world population take 80% of the opioids, masking pain. And then, of course, once they're addicted to the opioids, it doesn't even matter. They're just going to be taking them because they're addicted to them, the fentanyl and all that stuff, which is so devastating. So one thing that you can do is if you kind of look and go, and this is another thing I see people do, they go, well, what activities do you have? Well, you know, I used to play golf. I used to play tennis. I used to love to garden. And they say it as matter of fact. And I go, well, why don't you do it? Well, because I just can't do it anymore. What? Why don't you figure out, did you like doing it? Oh gosh, I wish I could. Well, why don't we figure out how to fix the problem that's stopping you from doing it? Hopefully before it's too late. That's why one reason I do this radio show is I really want to encourage people to come in. Hi, Carrie, mother of 3, twins, used to work for me for so long. But it's so amazing to see people that are holding themselves back when all they have to do is get up. I mean, I have a phrase in my office that says, you know, it's one of the most terrible things to do is watch one of your friends drown in 3 inches of water when you're just telling them all they have to do is stand up. So, you know, I just stand up. It's time to stand up. Make a change, find some goals, decide that you can do anything you want to do. And you know what? What if you reach for the stars and fall back on the moon? Not so bad, huh? So I'm coming up to my second commercial break, and we're going to listen to Jimi Hendrix tell us with his guitar a little bit about our country, and I'll be back in just a couple minutes.
This is Dr. Duncan McCollum here, and I have Pastor Mark with me. He came in and experienced the stem cell machine, the TRT machine, and he wanted to just go ahead and tell you a little bit of his experience. Yeah, I injured my knee years ago from sports and being dumb, and after the first stem cell treatment, after the very first one, I could do a full knee squat, and doctors told me that we want to replace your knee, and my knee would just ache just from sitting, and you probably experienced that if you have knee problems, but now, no ache, I can walk without pain, and when I sit, I have no pain, and I just love it. I'd recommend it to anybody. It's terrific. When we looked at your x-rays, your discs in your knees look pretty good, too. Yeah, they're improving so much. I just love it. I can't wait for my treatment every week. Highly recommend it to anyone. So you'd recommend they do the $49 special to see if it will work for them? Oh, absolutely. That's what drew me in with the $49 special. I thought, I got $50 to spend to just see, and it certainly has paid off. Call 831-459-9990. Thanks.
Hi, this is Dr. Duncan McCollum, and I have this amazing patient, Gayleen, here, who walked into our office, well, barely walked into our office.
Hardly able to walk and bent over. And within 3 visits, I was standing up straight, walking. I couldn't believe it. That's never happened to me before. It's been a very rough road, but we're getting there, and I'm very grateful.
And you had 2 back surgeries as well, right?
Yes, I did. Yeah, in 1995. Yeah.
And so they didn't really solve your problem.
No, they didn't.
And you came in, we did some stem cell treatments on you and some chiropractic on you, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So you're happy.
I'm happy. Everyone here is just awesome. They're all here to help you. They're all so sweet.
You should listen to Gayleen, see if we can help your health.
That's right. Anyone that needs help, please come in.
Thank you.
Hello, this is Dr. Duncan McCollum coming back. I wish we could listen to the rest of that, but you know, there's a 30-second mark that they will shun us if we try to go past that. But Jimi Hendrix, Star Spangled Banner from Woodstock, 1969, I think it was. And pretty amazing to feel the all of the lives that were won and lost during that time that that song was written, and what we did to become a country during the time that that song was written. So I really appreciate the fact that we can be there. Yeah, that'd be great. And so at any rate, I'm talking about the land of opportunity. I'm talking about what we could do here in this country, what you can do tomorrow, what you can do today. You can just get in front of a mirror, look in that mirror and you go, you know, you're not going to stop me anymore. You're not going to stop me anymore. You know, I mean, there's another song, All Along the Watchtower by Jimmy. I think that's the one. Maybe it's the wrong one, but he's talking about this woman who's got no legs. She takes herself to the edge of the shore and she's going to throw herself in the ocean because her legs, she doesn't want them to stop her anymore. And you guys probably know the song I'm talking about. But, you know, so at any rate, she looked at what her limitations were, what were stopping her from being able to achieve what she wanted to achieve in her life. And it was her limitations of her physical body. And, but the point well-being is her creative, or her imagination and her desire to be was greater than the devastating effects of the shackles of a body that didn't work. So, and I think that's a good point. Are you being the effect of shackles of a body that isn't working? Is it stopping you from lifting up your grandchildren? Is it stopping you from playing, sitting, walking, taking a walk on the beach? Shopping. When I had terrible sciatica in October of last year, I went to a Giants game. Happened to be the anniversary of my brother's death, October 2nd. Gosh, well over 50 years earlier. But for some reason, going up to that game, I started getting sciatica, severe sciatica that got so bad I couldn't even walk into a grocery store. And I tried everything that there was. I said, I know I can get over this. I'm going to overcome this pain. I'd broken my back when I was 12. My discs were so skinny, they looked fused on MRI. The medical doctors, my friends who are reading radiologist says it's time to go get your back reamed out and open up the hole for the nerve. And I mean, I was devastated. I thought as I drove home along Park Avenue and looked over towards the cement ship, I'll never walk on the beach again. You know, it was a very, very trying time for me. It was 6 weeks. I was trying traction. I went to these doctors that have these traction machines and they helped a little bit. I would go to some of the best chiropractors in California. I would travel up and down the coast to get adjusted by these great guys. And it wasn't really happening. And then I realized, geez, I wrote a book called New Hope for Sciatica. What am I doing with so much sciatic pain? Well, that was kind of a joke to myself, not very funny. And then one day I went to get adjusted by a friend of mine. You guys have heard this story. Got off the table, one step out of his office, and I had the most severe pain I've ever had in my life in my right lower gut as my appendix ruptured. I went to the ground, had to go immediately to the hospital. That's another story. They took out my appendix. 5 days later, I came out 10 pounds lighter, but my sciatica was gone. And then I realized in my own book, I talk about how hidden infections can cause inflammation, chronic inflammation that can affect the nerves. So I should have read my own book. Well, you should read it. It's called New Hope for Sciatica. You can find it on Amazon. Also, Turn Back Your Biological Clock, as well as my fiction books. And then, of course, I am writing my new one, which I think will be really helpful for everybody. But, you know, it's like, what's holding you back right now? It isn't somebody else. I guarantee it. You know, it's not, it's something within you, because you make your final decision. You're the one that makes a final decision. And, you know, maybe that's too big of a thought for you. Maybe at this point, it's one step at a time to be able to become independent from a situation that has had you under their thumb or that thumb for so long. But what you think about, you talk about. What you talk about, you bring about. So start thinking with what you want. Write down a goal. It could be big or small. Make it on many different pieces of paper. Put one on your mirror in the morning. Put one on your refrigerator. Put one on the dashboard of your car. And then read it and read it. And then pretty soon what you think about, you'll talk about. What you talk about, you bring about. You don't have to try it. It probably won't work. So don't worry about it. But that's a spectator attitude. And, you know, just think of Thomas Edison. How many times did he try to make a light bulb? 10,000 times. So if he had given up 9,999 times, we'd still be in the dark. So don't get frustrated that you've tried something a few times and it hasn't succeeded for you. You know, maybe evaluate whether or not it's really worth pursuing. And if it is, then pursue it. You know, I'm going to say on 3, I'm going to give you a command. 1, 2, 3, start. Start your future. It starts today. It starts right now. And, you know, my email is info@McCollumFamilyChiropractic.com. If you want to email me, you can, info@McCollumFamilyChiropractic.com. And, you know, I'm just who I am. I'm out here trying to make a difference. I'm trying to raise a family, enjoy my life, enjoy where I live, and be creative. I want to be creative. And the more I create, the happier I am. And the more I serve others, the happier I am. So the main thing to know is if you're hanging around people that aren't helping you, then reevaluate them. It could be the toughest decision you made, but the best decision you made. What is your situation? What's holding you back? Go look in the mirror and you'll find it right there. The person looking back at you is the one holding you back, I believe. Now, I'm sure a lot of people out there would go, no, but he doesn't understand. It's this person or that person or this person or that person. Hey, listen, I couldn't read a book till I was 28 years old. I couldn't even read four words in a comic strip. So, I mean, somehow I figured it out. I've written 6, 7 books now, and I've got a couple more on the way. Not that I'm any great shakes. I'm just me out here trying to make a difference, enjoying the afternoon in Santa Cruz here and hoping that you are the same. So, well, I don't want you to be the same. I want you to be the best version of you. And, you know, sometimes you're your worst critic. So it's time to make a change. So we are talking about independence today. The 4th of July is coming up. My daughter's dog will be 1 year old. It's time to just really take a look at what does that mean to you besides fireworks and a day off? You know, what does the fact that this country even exists mean to you? why are you where you are? Do you have a house a house that you can go get shelter in? Do you have food on your plate? Are you able to vote? We have a lot of freedoms here. And when you live in the Santa Cruz area, we live in paradise, so it's even more, we have more freedoms here. How often do you get out and go to the beach? How often do you take a walk? Somebody had mentioned World War II on Facebook. I always broadcast these shows on Facebook, Duncan McCollum, from 1 to 2. They're also repurposed and put on my podcast, so you can re-listen to them at any time. It's McCollum Wellness Radio podcast at Spotify or Apple Music or any of those places. Just get in your car and put in McCollum Wellness Radio, and there's about 70 different shows up now. I've probably done 200 to 300 shows on KSCO, and we're trying to get them up there. You can also go to my YouTube channel, Dr. Duncan McCollum, and I wish you would. If you've enjoyed these shows at all, you could do me a huge favor. Go to YouTube, Dr. Duncan McCollum, and just subscribe. It makes so much difference on me getting the word out when I have a bigger subscription group. So, just if you got anything I've ever said on the show, then please do me that favor and go to YouTube. It's free, and just subscribe to Dr. Duncan McCollum YouTube channel. It will help me reach more people. It would be an acknowledgement that you have appreciated at least one thing I've said in the last 5 years. So I'd appreciate it if you do that. And if you know anybody that is limited in their physical ability to get around and enjoy their life or achieve their goals, then send them to my office. I'm in Capitola, McCollum Chiropractic, there on the Brown Ranch next to Bed Bath & Beyond and FedEx in between them. We were rated Best Santa Cruz Chiropractor last year. Again, we've had that title several years. And so, you're sending them to somebody that has some stats. We have helped a lot of people. I've grown and changed over the years. I've been in practice almost 35 years. And, my philosophy now is different than it was. It's always changing. It's always growing. I work with Dr. Dan Papa, who's the leader in cellular healing. Because what we find is, in the old days, you could adjust somebody and they would get better. Now we need to adjust them, but oftentimes we have to detoxify them. We have to handle their gut. 60% of the people in the United States are pre-diabetic or diabetic. 60%. 80 million Americans have multiple chronic diseases. So 1/3 of the population in our country have multiple chronic diseases, or 1/4. Terrible. Multiple means more than 3. We're rated 47th in the world for health. We take 80% of all of the opioid drugs made in the world. 4% of the population gobble them down. So pain is a huge motivator. If you know people in pain and they're taking medication, they could potentially get out of pain. Listen to the people that are talking about the stem cell machine they've had in my office. We've had some great results. And for $49, like Pastor Mark said, I got $50 to blow to see if it helps. And if it doesn't help, I guarantee you've probably blown $50 in a worse place than that. You do get a set of x-rays out of it. You can't buy x-rays anywhere for $50. We'll at least give you a fair assessment of what your joints look like. So what do you have to lose? Except for something that would be limiting you and holding you back in your life, which doesn't sound like a good thing to be letting you limit yourself in or by therewith. So this is Dr. Duncan McCollum Wellness Radio, 1 to 2 every Saturday on KSCO. Again, I have a podcast, McCollum Wellness Radio podcast on Spotify or Apple Music or wherever you go. My website is McCollumWellness.com. And my office is located in Capitola. Please tell your friends, get on the podcast. If you have friends, open a podcast and you can send it to your friends. You can text it to their friends so they can find out what we're talking about and what truly can help save them or change their lives. I do work with people out of the city, out of this state. We do a lot of different things that way. And my books, New Hope for Sciatica and turn back your biological clock, have a lot of practical things that you can do yourself to help you get healthy. So anyway, it's a great day. This is 4th of July weekend. And I just so much appreciate anybody that's listening. I know a lot of you guys listen all the time. You just have KSCO and listen, and I happen to come on, and I appreciate you allowing me into your life for that moment or two. And again, do me a favor and tell other people to listen to the show, or send them my podcast, tell them about my office. You know, a lot of people just buy the $49 gift certificate for TRT and give it to a family member or friend. You can do that too. 49 bucks. The treatments are a lot more than that. The machine, the machine is a lot, costs a lot to run. It's sound, strictly sound. It comes out at 3,358 miles an hour. It penetrates, goes through the skin into your body. If there's nothing wrong, you don't feel a thing. But when it hits scar tissue, you feel it. And you know that it found the spot and it's doing the right thing. So come in and get the stem cell, the soft wave technology, TRT, tissue regenerative therapy. The Doctors TV show, they call it the Miracle Machine. So if you ever listen to the Doctors, then you know that they are always looking at innovative new ways to handle things. If you have a health problem and it's holding you back, then today could be the day that changes your life. Call our office. If we can't help you, we'll try to get you to the right person. If you have a dream or a goal and something is stopping you from achieving it, get up after the show, go into the bathroom and look at yourself in the mirror. And then you'll find out what's stopping you right there. In fact, what you can do is take a picture of yourself with your cell phone, and then take a look at that. And then you can take a picture of you with a determination that you can make it happen. So David found another version of the Star Spangled Banner, and we're going to go out with that. We'll see you all next week. Thank you so much.
Can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched,
Faithful dead in
were
the
so
Giants.
gallantly slain, and the rockets ran